I'm here with Mr. Adam Holz. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Andy.
Are you doing well today?
I am doing well today. I am enjoying another day. This is my fourth interview today, so I like to talk and I like to talk to you and I love having the opportunity to talk to your Pure 24/7 audience about all things entertainment related. So, thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome. Now, last week we introduced you properly for the first time on this
Yes.
particular feature, but you were warm, cold. We had a little conversation about what that meant.
Yes.
You talked about your hat, which you're wearing again today. So, are you
Yes.
still warm, cold? Is the most
I'm
important
still warm
question.
cold. I have actually made peace with the fact that where I'm at in California just seems to be a warm, cold place.
Fine.
And that's just the way it is. Maybe someday I'll be warm again or cold again, but I'm still both.
You see, we can't fix everything, but there is some wisdom to accepting what we cannot change.
That's right. That's what the Serenity Prayer says, right? The
Amen.
wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah, well, that's part of it, isn't it? It isn't just accepting. It's sometimes
Yes.
okay. Let's just go from here. Right,
Let's go from here.
and let's go from here into reviews. What have you got for us this week, sir?
We review a lot of stuff at Plugged In, and one of the things that we really enjoy is when we have something to talk about that we can kind of celebrate or say, "Hey, this is really kind of worth your consideration." And so we reviewed a video game this week called Monument Valley 3. It's the third game in the series. And it is aimed really at a young audience. I mean, potentially it's rated E for everyone. And it is a puzzle game. And so you are in these environments where you have to move something, you have to look for something, you have to find the secret key. There's not much of a story, but what sets this game apart is that it is sort of loosely modeled on the Dutch artist MC Escher. He had those sort of optical illusion paintings. And so not only are the puzzles challenging and engaging, but they're just beautiful. Our reviewer, Bob Hoos, who's one of the guys on our team, said every single frame of this game, you could hit print screen and hang this on your wall as art. So it's fun for us to be able to not just say, oh, this is problematic. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, you want to avoid this, but to say, hey, here's something terrific that your family might really enjoy. And this particular game is available for PC and tablets. So we always let people know, here's where you can play this as well.
Cool. I like puzzle games. I'm not going to say I'm good at them. It's not like I'm good. It's like it's a good challenge to realize there's much to learn in life.
Yep. Yeah. And I misspoke. It's actually smartphone and tablet, not PC and tablet.
Smartphone and tablet. Cool. Okay. What else have we got then, sir?
Well, we have an interesting movie out on Netflix this week. It's called Back in Action. And we're at this weird place in our culture, Andy, where the biggest movie of the week may or may not be something that's in theaters. So, Back in Action is very much cut of the same kind of cloth as Spy Kids, and as True Lies. And there's almost now enough of these things where we have this family spy genre. And this one stars Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz as Matt and Emily. And they retired from the CIA spy business about 15 years ago. They have two kids. They're raising their family, but wouldn't you know it, their identities were compromised. And now bad guys that they were, going up against decades ago are looking for them. But they've never told their kids, oh, by the way, mom and dad used to be spies.
Of
So they're
course
still
not.
trying to keep that secret while they have, people shooting at them and things exploding and that sort of thing. So, like those other movies I mentioned, there is an action element and there's sort of a comedy family element. In the US, this one is rated PG-13. Probably the biggest issue here is some language. And if you haven't ever been to Plugged In, we really try to point out the content issues you can expect to find so that you're not unpleasantly surprised and doing the face palm thing or reaching for the remote or the mute or trying to cover your kid's eyes. What we were pleasantly surprised about this movie was that there was a family emphasis that was stronger than normal. We really see two people who love each other as a married couple 15 years in, not 2 months in. And we see them really trying to do what's best for their kids. And so there's kind of a sweet message here, even though, frankly, of all the movies released so far this year, this is one of them. I mean, it's fine. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's right down the middle. But it's probably the biggest thing out this week in terms of new movies.
But that's on Netflix, not
That
in
is on
cinemas and theaters.
correct.
So
That was
interesting.
on Netflix, and I guess it's possible that the Netflix release schedule in Great Britain may be slightly different, but anyway, that one is out.
Cool. I'm
Um,
guessing PG-13. We would have a 12, and
yeah,
up from a 12 would be a 15. I don't think there's one in between. Someone might correct
yeah,
me one day, but I think it's kind of between those two, isn't it?
yeah, and I would guess that this is probably more 12 than 15. That
Yeah.
if I had to make a guess on how it was going to be rated over there. And then we also review YouTube channels. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. At some point, maybe we'll do TikTok channels, although TikTok may be going away this week. We'll see if it's still here next week. In the United States, I can't believe they're actually going to get rid of it. I think somebody will come up with a solution, but we'll see. Um, but we review YouTube channels, and this week we reviewed one called How Ridiculous. And this is a channel about some guys in Australia, and they do crazy fun things. And they sort of ask what if questions that often involve dropping things, like what if, we dropped a giant dart hundreds of feet onto a piece of bulletproof glass? Would it break? How do we shoot a basket off the top of a dam into a net far below? Or frisbee golf, where they start at the top of a mountain and then go to the bottom. These are super fun challenges. These are Christian guys. If you have ever seen anything on the Dude Perfect channel, Dude Perfect is a pretty big brand over here anyway. Same kind of thing. Guys having fun, doing cool challenges, surprising themselves when they're successful. So with our YouTube video channel reviews, we can't necessarily review every single thing that they've ever
No.
published, but we try to give a representative sampling. And again, we like to find things that are positive, because heaven knows there's enough stuff on YouTube and everywhere else that you don't want your tween or teen engaging with. This is a channel, How Ridiculous, that your kids might think is kind of fun.
Excellent. I do like to see stuff smash. Let's be honest, it's a nice, simple, satisfying thing.
Oh, it is satisfying. David Letterman, the American late night talk show host, years and years and like 40 years ago, this would have been mid 80s, used to throw stuff off like a 5-story building. So he would drop light bulbs or watermelons. I loved that segment. It was, you can't, it's very primal, right? It's like the monkeys at the beginning of 2001 throwing bones up in the air and then beating them. So I don't know. I guess I'm in touch with my inner monkey.
Fair enough. What else have you got then?
There is another movie out. It was released briefly in theaters in December, and it is now streaming on Amazon, and it's called Unstoppable. This tells the true story of a guy named Anthony Robles, and Anthony Robles was a guy who only had one leg, and yet despite that becomes a championship wrestler at the high school level, and he wants to go on and have take the next step and to be a college champion, and tries to get into the University of Iowa, which is where I went to school. Go Hawks, got to represent. Iowa's probably the best wrestling school in the country. Iowa said, no, thanks. We don't want guys with one leg. And he ends up being a walk-on, meaning he wasn't recruited. He just, showed up and said, hey, can I try out for the team at Arizona State University? And it really tells his story. And it's a deeply inspirational story. There's a fair bit of profanity here. It's another one that is PG-13 that might lean closer to the 15 rating in England than it does here. But if you like underdog sports stories, it sometimes feels like, is there a secret pipeline of underdog sports stories? Because we never seem to run out of them.
No.
They're all basically based on the Rocky template. There's a training montage. They run into difficulties. People don't believe in them, and then they win, right? And so it's a great story, and I think one that you might enjoy, just with that caveat about language.
Fine. And I think we've got time for one more, if you've got one more for us.
My website just totally crashed. We have been having problems. I do have time for one more. So a movie that was out in the theaters that is out on streaming now is Kraven the Hunter. If you know anything about Marvel, you know that Kraven was one of Spider-Man's chief nemeses early on. He's this hunter guy, but Sony, who owns the whole, Spider-Man universe, had the rights to Kraven, and they've been doing these sort of anti-hero villain turned hero movies. And they did one with Kraven, no Spider-Man. Kraven turns into a good guy, and that's pretty much that. Again, of all the movies released last year, this is one of them. It did really, really poorly. And I think Sony has learned, maybe we don't want to make Spider-Man movies that don't actually have Spider-Man in the movie. But like all of these PG-13, again, there's that rating, superhero movies, this one would probably go 15. There's a lot of violence and a fair bit of language. And I think Sony's going back to the drawing board saying, you know what, maybe we should have just left Kraven as a Spider-Man bad guy, as opposed to trying to turn him into an anti-hero good guy. And that's Kraven the Hunter. And you'll find reviews of that and everything else that's out in theaters and streaming right now as well.
Cool. Adam, thank you. If people want to get a hold of these reviews and any more, what's the website, sir?
Come to pluggedin.com. We also have a weekly podcast, The Plugged In Show, and you can find that at thepluggedinshow.com, one word. And we are a ministry of Focus on the Family.
Adam, thank you. I will leave you to your is it warm, cool, or is it cold, warm? I mean, is there a particular way of thinking about it?
I'm going to go with warm, cold.
That's better though, I guess.
Yeah. And I have a space heater right next to me, so mostly I'm warm right now.
No. Right, Adam, thank you, my friend. We'll be back with more next week.
Sounds great. Thanks, Andy.
Pure 24/7 radio is listener supported, which means we are free, online, and always pure because of the generous support of our listeners. If you would like to contribute financially, please visit pure247radio.org. If you'd like to find out how we use your money, please visit the Our Cost section. Any donation of any size will help keep us on air and broadcasting for free. Thank you.